Next year, thousands of young athletes from all over the world will be leaving their homes to follow that great dream, the Olympic dream.
It was a dream that would never come to be. Hundreds of American athletes caught in the middle of the Cold War.
There are conflicting reports out of Afghanistan.
The Soviet takeover was meticulously planned and skillfully executed.
The Soviet Union must pay a concrete price.
Yesterday, Vice President Mondale said the Summer Olympics should be moved from Moscow.
I would not support the sending of an American team to the Olympics.
This was no idle threat.
How can we put us in the middle of this conflict?
I don't think anything was really solved from us boycotting the game.
But basically, he crushed my dreams. Felt like he had crushed my life. At the time, I felt like he had crushed my life. Right? So let's say he underhooks me, and I come in here and I go like this, and he goes like this. Warning stolen, and if it's the second time, it's going to be a point. So if we're
40 years have passed since a group of American athletes were forced to skip the Summer Olympics. For most of them, becoming an Olympian was a once-in-a-lifetime dream. But for all, the memories of that summer in 1980 are still fresh.
My goal was I wanted to set a world record. I wanted to go to the Olympics and pin my way through it. I wanted to be the most dominant wrestler that, ever went through an Olympic Games. When I was training, I was never training to win. I was training to beat them to oblivion before I pinned them.
Where your partners go?
By that time, I was Big Ten champion, all 4 years while I was at Ohio State. And at that time, in the world, I had the fastest time going in as a world leader that year. So in the back of my brain, that's the automatic, I should medal when I get to Moscow.
And 1976 was the first year that women were going to actually field a team in the Olympics in Montreal. So, I worked hard and had a great year in college and went out to Missouri and went to the tryouts with Team USA and wasn't on the list. And the next go around, I'm not going to give anybody an excuse to cut me from the team.
When I was young, I just loved to do somersaults, and I tried in my yard, off the house, in the playground. And I think it was my junior year or so that my coaches started telling me that I had a chance to go far and potentially make the Olympic team.
By July of 1978, I had broken my first world record. I had made the world championship team, and that was when I was kind of figuring that, that maybe, in 2 years, I'd actually have a chance to make the Olympic team.
I was in Philadelphia and worked at the Juvenile Law Center, who were very kind and allowed me to do my other crazy things. So in the fall of '79, I had decided I would have no regrets. I would do whatever I needed to do to make the team and win that gold medal.
But in 1979, with the US and Soviet Union still at the height of the Cold War, an international crisis ensured they would never get that chance.
The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan was a game changer for Jimmy Carter. And Carter felt that it was the greatest threat to world peace since the end of World War II.
The president and his administration scrambled to come up with a diplomatic and economic plan against the superpower.
We knew that in the summer of 1980, there would be a Moscow Olympics hosted by the Soviet Union. And naturally, this was one of the things we put on the table.
The Soviet Union must realize that its continued aggressive actions will endanger both the participation of athletes and the travel to Moscow by spectators who would normally wish to attend the Olympic Games.
And I said to him, let's not get ahead of ourselves. These games are not going to occur until August. And the president sharply retorted, if they are in Afghanistan, we cannot go.
We started hearing some rumblings about the government and some possibilities of some interference and something, but we didn't take it very seriously.
I do not want to inject politics into the Olympics, and I would personally favor the establishment of a permanent Olympic site for both the summer and the winter games.
But when the IOC rejected that idea, Carter began pushing more and more for a boycott.
And I have notified the Olympic Committee that with Soviet invading forces in Afghanistan, neither the American people nor I will support sending an Olympic team to Moscow.
Then the question was, how do we make this happen?
The administration sent representatives to Lake Placid, New York, where the Winter Games were set to begin.
The U.S. government didn't have full control over whether we participated as a U.S. team in the Olympics. That was ultimately up to the U.S. Olympic Committee.
They were in our face all the time. We had to try to keep them away from the athletes, even though these athletes weren't going to go to Moscow. But they were looking for any bit of support they could possibly get.
Back then, we didn't have the kind of news cycle we have now. And I think when we first started hearing about it, it was sort of a natural emotion, I think, where the kids felt today, and that's complete denial. Like, there's no way this is going to happen.
I believe that I refused every interview of anybody that wanted to talk about the potential boycott of the Olympic Games because I didn't want to take it away from my focus and my strategy on trying to make the team.
And even if there was even a whisper about it, we just assume they'll work it out, but there's no way they're not going to send the U.S. to an Olympic Games. They're just not going to do it.
Then in late March, Carter invited more than 100 Olympic hopefuls to the White House.
The emotions were very raw. They were obviously young people. They were respectful of the president, but they were sorely disappointed.
Anita DeFrance, she was very vocal about it back then, and she actually had a meeting with all of us. I think it was before we went to the White House, about how angry she was and how she was going to speak up.
We knew that most countries were going to be in Moscow and they would be competing under the Olympic flag. And I wanted to propose that to the President of the United States. I was about to ask the question, and at that very moment, the President of the United States entered the room.
I can't say at this moment what other nations will not go to the Summer Olympics in Moscow. Ours will not go.
I finally asked the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, can you tell me that one human life will be saved if we don't go to Moscow? He said, no. And that was the bottom line for me. If we can't save one person, why are we doing this?
It finally came to a head in April when the USOC scheduled a vote at their headquarters in Colorado Springs.
We had lobby packed with writers and reporters and broadcasters. The vice president spoke at length.
For what is at stake is no less than the future security of the civilized world.
And then came the somber vote, and it was 2-1 in favor of honoring the boycott.
The United States Olympic Committee has decided not to send a team to the 1980 Summer Games in Moscow.
One thing that I've always been told is the Olympic Games were an opportunity to separate politics and to bring the world together.
That summer, right around the time the Games were beginning in Moscow, the U.S. Olympic Committee took the entire team to Washington, D.C.
There would be the presentation of special medals on the steps of the Capitol with the President of the United States addressing the entire team on a very hot afternoon. We were all decked out in our Levi Strauss jeans and red shirts and bandanas and Stetson hats that we would have gone to Moscow with, but it was an ugly day.
Those close to Carter said he never regretted his decision to boycott the 1980 Games.
Jimmy Carter had a very odd view of politics. He did what he had to do to win elections. But then when he got into the White House, he parked politics at the Oval Office door and did what he considered the quote-unquote right thing.
There were more than 460 athletes on the 1980 U.S. Summer Olympic team. Some, like DeFrance, had competed in 1976, and others, like Gaines, went on to compete in 1984. But for nearly 220 of them, 1980 was their only chance.
Being, a black athlete in a sport that you don't see a lot of blacks then competing in, to be on the world stage and potentially win a medal, I believe it could have opened up so many doors for me.
No one knows how hard it is. No one knows what we're doing every day and what the challenges are. So we were invisible, basically, except portrayed as children who wouldn't do what the president wanted to have done. It was our lives, not his.
I made the team. I achieved my goal. I'll always be an Olympian. Whether we competed or whether we didn't compete doesn't make me not a member of an Olympic team. I'm part of that very special group.
I worked my butt off to earn Olympic gold, and I didn't get the opportunity to do it. And I just wish I had the opportunity to show the world at the time that I was ready. That was my time.